Hey everyone, One Dragon back with another Cyberpunk 2077 video, and today we are going to go over crit stacking in patch 1.21 or 1.20. First, we'll go over the basics about crit chance and crit damage, followed by getting crit chance in the early game. After, we'll look at crit stacking and crit mods. Lastly, we'll take a look at getting bully mods and fortuna mods, and then optimal stacking of crit chance and crit damage. The first thing you need to know about crit damage is that at its base, it increases your damage by 100% or doubles the damage you deal when you land a crit. From there, it is important to know that aside from stealth takedowns and possibly condition damage like the poison fire, electric bleeding, the remaining damage types will be able to deal critical damage eventually. It is important to know that there are two types of crit modifiers that you can get. There will be crit modifiers that apply straight to your stats page, and when you change the weapon that you're wielding, those stats will remain the same, and therefore they are sort of global. They will apply to all your damaged weapon types. And the other one will be weapon specific. So it will only show up on the weapon, or it will only show up on the stats when you're wielding that weapon, and then when you swap weapons, the stats will change again. So as I go through my recommendations, I will label whether it is a global modifier that will apply to all damage types, or if it is weapon specific. From fairly early on, blades, guns, and your arms will be able to land critical hits, providing that you have some crit chance on your stat page, especially since in the early game, these weapons don't have any base crit chance on them, and we can take a look and show that with the right perks, things like grenades will be able to land critical hits. You can see that this crit's only at level 20, and quick hacks will be able to land crits here at level 16. Essentially, this means that unless you plan on doing a stealth playthrough without using any weapons and just using stealth takedowns, then it is beneficial for you to build crit chance and crit damage, as the other types of damage should be able to crit. So, I'm on a level 16 character, and you can see here that my problem solver has 13.44% crit chance, 32.58% crit damage. And when I crafted it, it crafts at a level below your level. So technically the problem solver right now is at level 15. And if I go to crafting and I upgrade it, it'll be now a level 16 weapon. Okay, and then if I go back to my inventory and check it, you'll see that it's been upgraded to 14.22% crit chance and 34.56% crit damage. Now what I'll do is also compare it to a level 51 when I swap to my level 50 tune. So I'll just showcase that. Okay, I'm on my level 50 character, and you can see here that the problem solver, this version, has 42% crit chance and 105% crit damage. And just to showcase another gun and the difference, on the breakthrough it has 75% crit chance and 200% crit damage. Now obviously there are different stat rolls that you can get, so like the numbers can change depending on which roll you decide to keep. But the fact is that the late game guns will have insane amounts of crit chance and crit damage, which means you need to not waste stats. You want to reduce the amount of crit chance that you get the later in the game that you go, because your weapons will just supply that crit chance for you, depending on the weapon. One more thing is that some weapons, like the Widowmaker, has no base crit chance on the weapon itself, which means that you have to get that 100% crit chance from other sources, even on a level 50 character as I'm showing here. The last basic thing that you need to know is that the stats on the weapon, so in this case it's got 14% crit chance and 34% crit damage, should be added to the crit on the stats page. So that's 14 plus 32 there, and 117 plus 35. And make sure that the weapon is equipped so that all your perks will show up on the weapon. Crit in the early game. In the early game, it's a good idea to plan to get crit chance to ensure enemies are defeated in a timely manner. So one of the easiest ways that I always use to get crit chance is in Cold Blood. Now you need to spend one perk in Cold Blood for the skill progression to start leveling up, and the first level at level 2 increases crit chance by 10%, and this applies straight to the stats page. So if we take a look my stats, I've got 12% crit chance, 10% is from the Cold Blood, and 1% is the base, plus 1% from reflexes there. From here, I recommend that you get an eye mod called Weak Spot Detection. I don't have it right now, but I'll show you how to get it, and that gets another 5%. You can get it from this quest, or Assault in Progress in Kabuki, in Watson. You can also buy it from Victor, but this is a way to get it for free.
Take it out the trash! Good thing you showed up. For a second I thought, that was it.
Okay, so you can find it straight in the reward chest here. Weak Spot Detection increases crit chance by 5%. So we'll pick that up, go to Cyberware, and we can slot that straight on. And we'll just check the stats. Yep, there we go. So an additional 5%. So already we're at 17% crit chance. After the initial 15% crit chance, there are other good methods of getting crit modifiers that apply to all damage types. The first method is by getting lucky or re-rolling items that are in loot boxes or from certain boss type characters. The first example here I found from a particular guard in the Arasaka Tower heist, and his vest dropped a fortuna mod. So if I just apply that now, we can see that there is a fortuna mod there, and in the stats it increased our crit chance by 12%. Another good source of crit chance and crit damage that applies to your stats page, and therefore to a lot of your damage types, is if you invest into intelligence, you can go to different Ripper docs. Cassius Rider is a good one that you can visit in the early game. And you can buy the Visual Cortex support for crit damage. And you can buy the Limbic System enhancement for crit chance. Now, these are good for the early game. You can see that there is an uncommon one here and a rare one for the crit chance as well. However, obviously, if you invest more in intelligence, then buy the higher rarity ones. There are legendary versions of these, so I would definitely recommend that, especially if you're a hacker. And we'll just confirm it by looking at the stats. We can see that we already have 44% crit chance on our base stats. From here, you can choose to invest more into reflexes or cool for crit chance and crit damage, but I would advise against doing that unless you're using the weapons that they buff specifically as well. But you'll notice that most of the remaining crit chance and crit damage that you can get from now on will be very weapon specific. So what do I mean by that? If we look at the skill progression in reflexes, we can see that there will be crit chance, additional crit chance bonuses and crit damage bonuses applied. However, it will be for very specific gun types. In this case, submachine gun or rifle. Handguns will have pistols. Blades will have obviously blade type weapons. Technical in engineering will have tech weapons and grenades. Cool will have some generic stuff, so if you really want to, you'll get more crit chance and crit damage applied to everything in Cold Blood. Body will have your fists and your blunt weapons, as well as I think heavy machine guns will be in Annihilation, and shotguns will be Annihilation as well. Intelligence, your hacks will be solely based off your global stats. You can also opt to modify the weapons themselves. The higher rarity, the more mod slots will be available. I'll just show you the gun one here. So I'm at the weapon shop in Wellsprings in Haywood. And this vendor sells crafting specs for the pacifier and the penetrator. So if we were to buy those and go into crafting and craft pacifier and penetrator, click on mods here, we can increase the crit damage by applying the pacifier modification and the penetrator modification for crit chance. You can also find, if you're using melee weapons, some of the melee stores will sell crafting specs or just sell the modifications themselves. So they often have this knife as the symbol there. And the Ripper docks will sell arm modifications for crit as well. In patch 1.2 or patch 1.21, your main source of crit chance and crit damage will now be these clothing modifiers. I'll now show you how to get them, what levels you can roughly get them at, and how to optimize stacking them. One of the first places that I found the Deadeye Mod was this clothing store here in Little China in Watson. It's by the Med Center fast travel station, and it's cheap at 726 eddies. Now, people have been saying in the comments that they were able to find it at a lower level than me, but they had roughly around 20 street cred. So I'm going to assume that roughly around 20 street cred, the Deadeye mod will start appearing in clothing vendors. If you're looking to min-max, essentially what you want to do is use any Fortuna mods that you find in the early game. Once Deadeye mods are accessible, then you want to use those, and then eventually you will sub out a lot of these Deadeye mods for bully mods. Personally, I found it quite hard to find the bully mod or the Fortuna mod ever since the patch changed. I did manage to find a save that had it. This is the first time this save is talking to Zane as Jinguji. And you can see here that we eventually found it. So here's the bully mod. We also have a Deadeye and a Fortuna mod, all in the same store. You can tell this is the first time that I'm visiting this store because the crafting specs are here, and then we can buy those up. We can also see and confirm that they are sold at a reduced price compared to before. 908 and 949, and obviously the Deadeye is 726. I am at level 20. I'm also at 39 street cred. If we go to stats, it has 37 street cred as the mark for vendors will offer new weapon mods and attachments, but it doesn't mention clothing mods really. And it mentions clothing stores will have more items at street cred 27. Personally, I checked at like level 15 and around level 50 and I couldn't really find many. We're gonna re-roll a few times and see if we can find. Okay, so we've re-rolled a bunch and ran back and forth, and I can't seem to get him to stock up on any bully mods or Fortuna mods anymore. But yeah, so it's possible that it is experiencing the same bug as the clothing specs in terms of like, you know, it's not appearing anymore after the first time that you visit them. So what I'm going to do is show you another way to get bully mods and Fortuna mods. I also found it at this store in Wellsprings, Haywood. Here we go. Bully mod, same thing. The first time visiting it, level 20, 39 street cred. I had to re-roll this a few times to make sure that it showed up, but it only showed up on the first visit as well. I mentioned this earlier, but you can also find bully and Fortuna mods on lootable clothing in chests. You can save scum and reload those, or on suitable enemies such as bosses, but currently you have to re-kill the boss. You can't just save scum the loot after you've killed them. There is a guaranteed bully mod by the Netrunner in Pacifica. Don't forget to pick this up while you're here. So one way to get the bully mod is to use the crafting system. So normally I have this perk, Waste Not Want Not, which when disassembling an item you get the attached mods back. And then I have the crafting progression up to epic. I normally skip rare crafting, but I'm fairly certain you can get bully mods from there too. But so far I have Grease Monkey. This allows me to craft epic items. And then what I'm going to do is select the cheapest epic armor piece that I can craft, which should be either the hat or this tech goggles. Maybe even these boots. Nope, the hat or the tech goggles are the cheapest. So I'm going to craft maybe 20 of these. Okay, I'm going to go to my backpack. And we should see here that there are some with legendary mods. And we can see there's already one bully mod there. We've got a fortuna mod. But 2 fortuna mods and 1 bully mod there from our crafted items, and we can just salvage them to get those bully mods. Gonna salvage everything. And if I click on the item, we should have a bully mod there, and the 2 fortuna mods as well. So yeah, that's how you get bully mods or fortuna mods before they show up in stores. Let's do an example of optimal crit stacking. Okay, so my current weapon has 14.22% crit chance. We'll just say that's 14% crit chance. And our current stats has 32% crit chance from other sources. Now I've showed some of this before, but things like the perk progression, the Kuroshi optics, and the intelligence frontal cortex cyberware. If we go back to our stats, we want to make sure that we have 54% extra crit chance on this page, so we should have a total of around 86% to make sure that we hit that 100% crit. If we take a look at our clothing mods, we have Fortuna mods, Deadeye mods, and Bully mods. We have a lot because I did that whole crafting thing and got a whole bunch of crit modifiers. Now, if you don't have access to the Deadeye mods, then just using Fortuna mods or whatever is available to you is highly beneficial. However, since we have these Deadeye mods, what we'll do is make sure we hit that 100% crit chance using Deadeye mods, and then just fill the rest with Bully mods. Okay, so let's do that. Deadeye mods. So we needed 54. So that should be 8 of them. I'm going to put the Deadeye mods on the cheapest clothing as well, because then I can always just resell them and salvage them. And I'm going to just fill the rest of the slots with Bully mods. There we go. So we're at 88% crit chance, and we have 637 crit damage. Let's go kill a boss.
She must have a weak spot.
Come at me!
Get to work.
There you go. So we absolutely deleted her very hard. We're level 16. And we have plenty of stats. Now, if I compare this to my previously min-maxed kill, it would at least take me half a clip or 3/4 of a clip, but now it's taking me, how many bullets do I have? 85? So close to 30 shots or less even if I like analyze it frame by frame, I'm sure it's less than 30 bullets. And I probably could have killed her faster as well. Some final notes or a warning about building crit damage. At a certain point, even on very hard, which is currently the hardest difficulty, your build will be excessively strong. In patch 1.1, you could already defeat bosses before they finished or even started their dialogue lines. In the current patch, I'd estimate kills can be about 5 times faster or even more so. So personally, I would recommend that you have 2 sets of gear with 2 sets of clothing. One should be a weak set where you have limited crit mods on it and it's not min-maxed, and then have another set that is fully min-maxed and fully geared out. That way you can go into some fights weak and experience the boss fight mechanics and the dialogue lines and so on. And then another set where you can just go in there and one-shot everything and delete bosses in 2 seconds before they even move. That way you have some options and you can choose how you want to experience the game. Thanks everyone for watching. Hopefully you found this useful. This has been One Dragon. If you enjoyed it, consider subscribing and checking out some of the videos on the channel. Catch you later, Tunes.